Let's do her.
What's going on, everybody? I'm joined today by a very special guest, Mr. Aaron Goodvin. Thank you, Aaron, for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
So what has your experience so far been like with Kelowna? Obviously, you've been here a couple of times. You
Yeah,
maybe
I
haven't had much of a chance
it so
to.
much. It's beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful places on earth. I was telling you earlier, I was like, if I were to move back to Canada, which I probably won't. My wife is from North Carolina and family's down there, so in Nashville, but it would probably be to this area. My agent lives out in Summerland, beautiful place, and so yeah, love this part of the world. So.
That's fair. Yeah, Summerland's a beautiful place too. It's a bit low key, but you still have all the features that make the Okanagan what it is.
Definitely.
What has your impression been so far on like the concerts that you have had in Kelowna? I know you've been here a couple of times now.
Yeah. Kelowna is a great place to play. It's funny. Like a lot of my friends' parents live out here now. Like people I grew up with in Alberta, so it's always good to. They're always very supportive when I come to the area, which is a lot of fun. So, and I've played here a few times. I've played the theater with Gord Bamford. It's a great show, and then I've also played the OK Corral a few times. So, which is always a party. So good time.
Yeah, that's fair. The OK Corral for me is kind of what got me into country music in the first place. And then like music like Lonely Drum is some songs that I was like really just connected with off the rip.
Yeah.
What was it like for you growing up in Spirit River, Alberta? To my knowledge, it's like not a whole lot of people there, not much of anything really.
Yeah. Make your own fun kind of town. I grew up. I think we have one stoplight in Spirit River, but my sister worked at the Penguin Dairy Drive-In. Very small town. Great place to grow up. I think we live in a small town in Tennessee now, and now that I have a daughter, it's. I love that we get to grow up in she gets to grow up in a smaller place. I don't know. There's something about the everybody knows everybody kind of thing and everybody's business, but that's I just don't really know any other life. I've grown accustomed to living closer to a city and and doing that mainly for music. I've always wanted to I've always had really big grandiose dreams. So for me to be able to experience that and then but still have the small town thing is kind of the best of both worlds. But definitely came from a small town for sure.
That's fair, yeah. And then like how do you compare like life in like a larger scale, like being in like a place like Nashville compared to like maybe what you're used to in like a place like Spirit River or like some of the other places you've maybe been along the way?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely a change. But I've always loved country music, and so for me it was always sort of about that way of living, even if I didn't do it that much, it's just I love the music so much that I sort of became, I remember my email way back in the day was Country Boy 26 because I would never call myself a cowboy. I got bucked off every horse I ever tried to ride. So, but I have family that is, and so, so it's kind of I sort of see all sides of it, like the city living and the positives of that, and then but I bought an acre in Tennessee, so I love having space and room and room to grow and that kind of stuff, and I'm also kind of a workaholic, so if I lived in the middle of a city I would literally not stop working.
Just be
going all the time, and so it's good for me to kind of get away from that. We live in a town called Fairview, Tennessee, which is about 40 minutes out of Nashville. So it's nice to be sort of departed from that. Otherwise, I would never stop. So
yeah, close enough you could drive into town and not have it be like a whole day thing, but far
exactly.
enough away that
I'm
you
a
get
very
this
vibey guy.
vibe.
So if I get somewhere where the vibe is like high paced and like when I go to New York City, I never stop. Like it's just so I have to be very careful where I put myself. So
That's fair. Yeah. I gotta ask you because I'm curious. How did the song "Lonely Drum" come about? Obviously, like it's a song. I think maybe a particular song by you that a lot of people have probably heard of at some point.
Yeah,
like what's the story with it?
Definitely, we were writing a song that day. I wrote the song with Cat Gravitt and Skip Black, and Cat's had a couple number ones, and Skip's had a few hits, and we had written together before, so that, we had a good vibe going, and we wrote this song called "Trying to Forget You," which was kind of like a 80s hair ballad, slit your wrist ballad, it's just kind of like, try to forget you. And
Yeah.
we were listening to the work tape of it, and Kat said, I love this song because it just beats on that lonely drum, and I'd never heard those words all together in one sentence
And just
before.
something
And I had, and that's often how, like, I feel like hit songs are born or made. It just comes from something off the cuff that you're like, what was that,
Yeah.
And then I just, like, I was all hopped up on Eminem, so I was like, I want to write that. And so I just started that groove, and I often joke I had a lot of we wrote the song in 45 minutes, but I knew a
Wow.
lot about the topic, which was just like trying to get a girl to come over, because I felt like at that time in my life that's all I was trying to do, and I was not very successful at it, and so I had a lot, like, I knew a lot about the topic, so I was able to write that one, but it happened very fast. I remember when the course was done, we were like, is that the whole course? Are we done? And so it's just kind of a magical thing that you can't really explain. So
That's crazy. 45 minutes, I feel like it's crazy for like
very
a song that's like
fast.
at the magnitude I feel like that particular one is.
Yeah, but I think the thing about it is I always forget the lyrics because there's 3 verses and 3 courses, and you can interchange any lyric at any moment, right? So I'm always forgetting the lyrics to that song, which is crazy because it's definitely my biggest song.
It just kind of all gets jumbled
Right,
up.
but because it's so simple in its nature, I think is kind of the beautiful part about it, and that's always the thing you're trying to capture. It's like lightning in a bottle, right? So.
Yeah, I would say that's personally probably something that I enjoy about that song. Like the vibe of it I find is really nice, but then also it's nice. It's just not very like in your face, like super
100%.
like aggressive beats or anything like that.
Exactly.
I think
yeah.
that's a lot
Very
of like
laid
what
back
country
feel.
music is. It's a lot of very like chill, like driving down the road in your truck
Totally,
kind of vibe.
100%.
That's why so many songs are about trucks
Yeah, and
and
if
things
it's
like that.
and there's some a little bit of what am I knowledge, or I'm not thinking of the right word, but there's a little bit of like, if it's so hard to write, why are you writing it? Like there comes to a point in every co-write where you're like, why are we working? This shouldn't be this hard,
Yeah.
And if it's this hard for us, it's gonna be hard for the listener. So the nice part about Lonely Drum is it's the complete opposite of that. It's just very, very chill and very laid back and just fun. So.
That's right. Do you have like a particular favorite song you've like written or made for yourself that you like particularly stands out to you, where you're like, man, I'm really proud of that, or is it kind of just across the board, you're proud of where you're at?
I mean, different songs at different times. It's hard. I always say the next one, because I love to write and keep creating, because I think that's that's what I love to do the most. I mean, I love to perform the most, but I'm always thinking of how I'm going to perform something when I'm writing it, right? So it's always sort of performance based, but like certain songs, just like Bars of Churches, probably one of my favorite songs. I remember writing that song and just being in this place of like, I can't believe I'm here to write this song, as opposed to like all ego where like, I'm so great, I wrote this song, it was more about like, I sort of experienced, whatever, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, in that moment where it was just like, I'm here doing this, but it doesn't really feel like it's me doing it. And then I get to go sing it and share it with other people. So it's such a beautiful thing. So I'd probably say Bars of Church is a big one.
That's fair. What would you say has been like a highlight for you so far in your career? Obviously, I'm sure that there's a lot of things that stand out, but is there anything that particularly comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, like, we're here at the CCMAs, and in 2018, I won Songwriter of the Year for Lonely Drum, and that was such a huge moment, just because I had been going to the CCMA since I was like 15,
Right.
and so now I'm like 29, and I'm winning an award, and it's literally like 15 years later or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah.
And you're winning an award because you sort of grow up. And I came to CCMA's just trying to get somebody's attention.
Yeah.
Like just trying to get somebody to like even listen to me say something.
Yeah.
And and so you sort of feel like this really small person on this in the world just seems so big. And the fact that you can sort of make your way into that, however you do that, and then win an award that they vote for you, pretty huge moment. Like that was definitely. I always laugh because my my wife was there. We had just got married. Were we married yet? I should know this. I don't. was there, my mom was there, my dad was there, and the only thing between me and the award was my dad because the way we were sitting. So I hugged my dad and just left because I was just so excited to get that thing. And I always and it was funny because they didn't even notice that I didn't hug them. We were all just so excited. So, but it was a pretty like full circle moment in that you're trying to go after this thing your whole life, and the most validating thing that you could get is like a CCMA award because that's like no one's ever going to take that away from you. And so that was a really big moment. And honestly, the rest has just been gravy for me. It's just been awesome to be able to go out and play shows and make a living and connect with people, and that's what it's all about.
That's fair. Yeah. A couple more questions for you. What is some advice you would give people who are trying to pursue like a career in music?
I mean, my advice may be a little different than everybody else's. The world has changed so much that I feel like a lot of it is sort of in front of your camera, and you got to be on people's cameras to sort of be seen, and it feels like it's less about the music and more about what it looks like, and kind of a thing. It's just a different world we live in. But
yeah,
my general rule of thumb was like just to play as much as you possibly can. Like when I started. I took any gig I would sing for a goat if you wanted me to. I didn't really care. And so I think like the whole idea for me was always about learning how to play in front of different audiences, learning how to do that because there will come a time in your career where you just need to be ready for that. And I feel like if you're not, it sort of has this negative. You get all these opportunities, but it has like a negative thing because it just feels like you're not ready to be performing in front of people.
yeah.
And so my biggest thing was like, I played weddings, funerals, trade shows, Christmas tree light ups, gas stations. I've literally played everywhere, housewarming parties, backyard parties. So I've, anywhere where somebody, even if they don't pay you, it just anywhere where you can get in front of people and play is always going to serve you in a very positive way. So I always tell people play as much as you can. And then it's all about little wins. Like this whole industry is about little wins. My wife and I have a business where we help a lot of sort of up and coming artists help A&R their record and try and help them figure out where their direction is and what the sound is and what all that is. And so we do a lot of that. And so like, always our goal is just like to get the best representation of that artist, right? Like what is the thing that makes you tick and what's the thing that's going to connect with other people? And so but I always say, like I always tell all these people is like play as much as you possibly can.
That's fair. One more question for you. What is a fun fact about you that not a lot of people would know?
A fun fact, a good fun fact is I'm actually deaf in my left ear.
Really?
So a lot of people are, and I'm very ADHD, which you probably can tell that already. Yeah. So I was born without half my hammer and stirrup, and in my ear. So I was like missing bones, and we didn't really know it until I got an infection in there. And then when we came out of that, it was like, oh, Aaron can't hear out of his left side. So for the most part, and so a lot of people are like, how do you a singer and do that? And I was like, well, it all just comes in one ear, so it's very hard to figure out. But I've, I think it served me. I can hear a little bit in my left side, but it's very much less than my right side. So it's a fun fact.
Interesting. That is a very fun fact. Well, thank you very much for your time,
Thank you,
Aaron.
brother.
I
I appreciate
it.
you, man. Thank you very much. Great to meet you.
Likewise.